he's going to be teaching it, and I'm just kind of adding on things here and there. So he's going to be teaching the big class on dirt today, how to get your beds ready, how to plant, everything on dirt. So you'll know a lot for the area, and that's one of the hardest things here to get right. It's hardest things for people to get used to. Our dirt is just so challenging, and I don't care if you live PV, Chino, Copper Basin things. Our dirt's pretty much the same. It works the same. You might be a little bit rockier than others, but it's not easy. So this is gonna be a great class, and especially if you've been like putting things in, they all keep dying on you. I guarantee you it's the dirt. So this will be great. So I'm gonna let Eric talk, and I'll try and shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Mackenzie, by the way. I always forget to introduce myself. Ken and Lisa's daughter, looking to be the owner, trying to take over, running over the whole place. So that's me. All right, Eric, go ahead.
Thanks, Mackenzie. So little bit of backstory about me. I've worked here, started here March of 2016. So this is coming up on my 9th year.
Grabbed him and didn't let go.
when I first started working here, I thought dirt was dirt. You put stuff in it and it'll grow. After working here a little while, I realized that there's a lot more to dirt than just putting a plant in. So we're going to go over some of that, some of the amendments, we'll talk a little bit about the native soil that we have here, and how we work with it, how we kind of overcome and make it a good habitat for all these beautiful plants in your yard.
Yep, do the handouts, 3 handouts. They're kind of on your spring to-do list, your planting guide, which we'll go over. It's really important here. And then I can't remember the other, but they're all really good. So yeah, email and name. If you're a garden member, it's not the same thing. It's a separate system we do. So we'll send the email out to you later today, if not by Monday, depending on if I forget or not. So pass that around. Let's start with you. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Awesome. So first of all, just putting a tree in the ground. Kind of what do we look for? How do we start? And what do we do once we figure out what tree we want, where we want it? How do we actually get it into the ground? So first of all is digging the hole. We always recommend, let me show you with this little guy because he's easy to hold, a lot easier than say that fruit tree. So as a general rule, we find that planting here in Prescott, anything that's going out into the ground, we dig the same depth as the root ball. So for this guy, you only dig your hole about 8 inches down. But we find that digging a little bit wider really helps to loosen up the soil. It helps those taproots to go out, explore before they just meet the hard rock, the clay, and whatever else we have going on under the ground here in Prescott. So, and that is actually illustrated really well in our planting guide. Kind of shows how we dig a bowl. So same depth as the root ball. I tend to do about a pot width all the way around. So the hole is basically going to be about three times as wide as this pot right here, the diameter of it. Once you have that hole dug, biggest thing is checking for drainage. Doesn't matter where you are in Prescott, it seems to always be some issue or something that comes up with drainage. So we always recommend just checking, making sure that you're set before you put something in and realize that it's not quite optimal. So easy way to check is after you get your hole dug, go out with a hose in the morning, fill it up with water. If you come back in the afternoon and there's still water in there, you just dug a bathtub. You didn't dig a hole to put a plant in. Most plants, they're like us. You don't want to just sit around with wet shoes, wet socks. They need to drain. Otherwise, you'll run into fungal issues. It sort of just opens up all sorts of other possibilities of things that can go wrong. So
yeah, it's one of those, like, if you find that your tree's dying like 2 or 3 months later, you have a bathtub most likely. A lot of trees, especially in some shrubs, will show the damage way later than when it started. And by then, it's almost too late to recover. So doing the prep ahead of time, it's going to cost you save you tons of money, and also just a headache later on when you're trying to figure out why your plant's dying, and there's nowhere to come back from that. So over-watering, keeping things wet is way harder to come back from than it is to let things go dry and give them a good dry out time. Okay?
Yep. So, and that's absolutely right. Plants, they like to dry out in between watering. So once you get that hole dug, and if the drainage is good, you fill it up with water, you come back in the afternoon and it's all drained out, that's awesome. That's holes ready to put the plant in. If it's ready like that, we recommend mixing 2 parts of the mulch with, or sorry, 1 part mulch to 2 parts of the native soil. So you have your pile of dirt that came out of the hole, and you have a bag of mulch. Once you get that plant inside of the hole, out of that pot, easiest way to do it that I've found, take 1 shovelful of mulch, 2 shovelfuls of the native soil, kind of mix it up, and just go from there until it's all filled in. If you do, however, have an issue with drainage, say you dig your hole, fill it up with water, you come back 10 hours later and there's still water in there, there's a couple different things we can do to rectify that, to fix it. If you're doing like a large conifer, something, a pine, a spruce, probably going to be the best bet is digging down a little bit deeper, trying to break through that rock layer or clay, caliche. It's very common here.
Cement layer.
Yeah, it's essentially that's what it is. It's just hard packed clay, and it will form that bowl, trapping all the water. Yeah. So you can dig down a little bit deeper. You'll just use some more mulch to kind of fill in down at the bottom. And after you dig down deeper, try filling it up again with water. See how it takes to drain. If that's really not doing it, we have gypsum, which is this right here.
You brought me a big bag.
Yes. So now we've got 2 different bags of this. This is the 25-pound bag. Probably should have grabbed our 4-pound bag just so I can lift it up and show you guys a little easier. But gypsum works wonders for helping break up that clay, the caliche, the real hard packed soil that we have. So if you do run into that, throw a little bit of gypsum down in the hole. As you water in, it'll absorb, it'll break down, just kind of open up that soil for more roots, more drainage opportunities.
Yeah, so now you're save all, so you do have to still get past that layer. If you're like, I don't want to do that, it's too much work, you still have to do that. The layer, that caliche layer is usually no more than like a foot to get past the next layer. My whole yard's that. It took forever for me to dig 1 hole, but you just got to do it. And then you throw this on top, and it helps keep that hole from compacting back down, keeps it spaced out, and that's also what that mulch does. The mulch creates that air, creates that space for your plants to live in. The one other thing with mulch, which it's gone now. So the reason most people think they don't need mulch, they're like, yeah, my dirt's okay, I can make it work. The other thing is these plants have lived in these homes for a little bit. They lived in this dirt. This is really nice dirt that's in their little pots. So you don't want to shock them by going, great, you did great. Here's your crappy soil, live, be free, do great. They don't like that. They need almost a similar habitat for their dirt. So this just helps them kind of also transition into our native soil, and then they'll root out from there and they'll go. So just another thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there, when you're digging holes, when you're checking for drainage, just keep in mind that we are very, very rocky here in Arizona. You can dig a hole, you can have it drain perfectly. Then you can have that hole right here. You can come 5 feet over. You can dig another hole that you want to put another shrub in, or if you're trying to do a privacy wall, something like that. You can dig another hole a couple feet away, and you might hit a boulder, you might hit caliche, you might hit clay. Yeah. So that's why we always just recommend checking beforehand. Save yourself some time, some stress if you do happen to run into that later down the road.
Yeah, you know how often I hear, I have a line of trees, they're all the same water, all the same sun. No, they're not. They're different. So it happens a lot. If you look at a barrier, you'll see one tree's twice as tall, one shrub, one's really short and tiny. There's just differences there. So
yep.
Doesn't mean you have to dig a trench. Just make sure you prep each hole. Okay.
So question, is the mulch more coarse than like potting soil? And that's why you want to use it for planting and not potting soil?
Correct. Yeah, and we'll get into that in a little while. Basically, the biggest difference is there's some extra additives, especially like in the potting soil. That's got peat moss, it's got perlite, some other things that really help with the drainage. It's specifically formulated for pots and for plants to be in those pots. So some stuff like the peat moss, that's going to help with moisture retention. Because this time of year, it's not so much of a big deal, but June, July, heat of the summer, if you have sun on that pot, it gets hot. I can tell you that from moving these during the summer. You want to touch that with gloves if you're trying to lift that during the summer. So, and that heat will really kind of bake a lot of the moisture out of that soil. So that's why we recommend using potting mix with the additives in it to help.
Yeah, this definitely is coarser. It's got that wood bark. It's not too thick, but it's got that wood chips in it that helps space things out. It also is very hot, so you can't use this in pots. So that's why you have to use it in the ground. But you got to mix it, because if you plant straight in this, your roots will just fry. I mean, this has been sitting in Phoenix for like months. We bake it a lot. You also got to let it cool off into our soil. So don't just use straight this. But does that kind of get you answered there?
Yep. So, and while we're on the topic too, if anyone has questions, just raise your hand. Feel free to ask. It's kind of a smaller class, so we're happy to help address anything as it comes up.
Yep.
So,
right.
Okay, so that's the potting soil, or sorry, the mulch. And we do have these planting guides. These are extremely helpful. On the back right here, it gives you a full list of things to check for before you actually put this guy in the ground. It tells you how to dig your hole, how to check drainage. And we've got these, they're free. We've got plenty of them down inside the store. Just ask any of the cashiers for one of these planting guides, and we're happy to give them out.
Is it anyone's first time to a class? Anyone? Are y'all first time? First time? All right. You guys get these without having to walk. Look at you. I do have plenty of these, by the way, but get these out. There you go.
Yes.
Do they sell Sargon in Arizona?
Sargon?
I've never heard of that. So
It breaks down caliche.
they probably do. I don't know. Arizona has such strict laws. It wouldn't surprise me if they said no, but you probably have to check your box stores or something for that.
You
Yeah.
guys probably know because you might sell it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Ken's never had a salad, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Arizona does have some, as Kenzie was saying, some stricter laws as far as agriculture and growing and the products that we can put into our soil. As far as breaking down caliche, we pretty much 10 out of 10 recommend using the gypsum. We found that really works well, just to put a little bit down in the soil. And as you water it in, it'll help break up that heavy clay layer that we have. So while we're on the topic of gypsum, that's another great thing. Even if you have a lawn, your lawn's looking nice, you can still put some of this down, just spread it around on top of the lawn, and it'll help kind of break up some of just the hard packed soil, because if you're watering a lawn a couple times a week for a couple years, it's just going to compact that soil. So the gypsum goes in to kind of help break it up. It allows a little bit better air to get down to the roots, just kind of promotes lawn health in general. So this stuff is terrific for pretty much Prescott in general, or Tri-City area.
Yep.
Can that be put in a raised garden bed? Becky?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, as far as raised,
yeah, all the other stuff.
Yeah, raised garden beds, typically you have a bit more control over the soil because you're the one actually adding that soil. So for the most part, you kind of start off with a better planting substrate to begin with.
Putting gypsum in garden beds if it's needed or not. So that's
yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, it's not really needed. You don't really need to, because you're refreshing that dirt so often.
Oh.
Fast acting and regular, it's kind of the same thing. I think this breaks down a little quicker, so it just works a little faster for you than regular. Gypsum.
Yeah, it's.
I've only ever done the fast acting, so it's been a while since I've looked at the difference in the two. I honestly would have to look that up.
Yeah.
Way to challenge me.
It's a granular, makes it real easy to spread down. On the back of the bag, it goes over instructions on if you're using a seed spreader or just application rates in general. So.
It has some calcium in it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I mean, you can do it as often as you want. It really only works great when it's in the hole in the soil. If you just throw it on top, it isn't super effective because it doesn't always get down through everything. So it's better to use it to start with, and then you can add on once or twice a year. Oh, for doing
Yes.
them? Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
For a lawn, I think once a year is great if you're able to do that. If you can do it twice a year, even better. Just for an idea, this bag, the 25-pound bag, will cover about 5,000 square feet of lawn. So a little bit does go a long way. Like I said, I grabbed the big bag. Should have grabbed the little 4-pound bag because for most folks, if you're doing just putting a peach tree in the ground or something like that, a little bit goes a long ways for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Is there a certain time of year when it's better to do it?
So now is a terrific time of year to be out in the garden. Great time of year to start putting this stuff down, especially just to kind of help condition that soil, getting ready for the spring planting.
I have a acacia orchid tree,
Mhm.
and it's like 10 years old, and I'm noticing it's shrinking the dirt, so it must be compacting.
Yes.
Would that be a good thing to use to stir molding or just replace it?
So what I recommend for those of you who didn't hear, the question is she's got yes, yeah, I'll try and work on that. So she's got a potted plant that's it's been in the soil for a long time in that pot, and the soil's kind of starting to break down. It's compacted quite a bit. What we recommend and what I try and do for all my potted plants, I like to go through and just refresh that soil, even if it doesn't necessarily need to be moved up to a larger pot. Uh, like for example, my house plants, I like to go in about once a year, just refresh that soil. There's a lot of nutrients that kind of get drained out of the soil after so many cycles of watering and heating up and cooling down. It's just a good idea to kind of mix it up, get some new soil down in there.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to replant, just like top off new soil and stuff.
Don't be, because it's a 5 foot.
Yeah, so for things that are huge, that have lived in pots forever, I never suggest just shaking up their home and changing them. I would suggest just like breaking up that top layer of dirt, throwing up new dirt, getting some fertilizer in there, and that will help it. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Cool. All right.
all right.
Next.
Perfect. So we covered mulch and gypsum. Now, another real good product to talk about, kind of on the same topic of lawns, or just soil health in general, is humic acid. This stuff is terrific. Basically, for those of you who don't know what humic acid is, it's essentially the byproduct of compost. Kind of takes out a lot of the steps. It's not smelly. It's not hard to work with. It's granular, pelletized, makes it super easy to spread down. It does wonders to help promote root development, kind of help break up some of the soil, and it really opens it up for more worms, more of the good nutrients, and the beneficial insects. So humic acid is terrific. A lot of times, a real good use case for this, just as an example, we'll get folks who come in with a beautiful lawn, but their dog's out there using it as a potty or something, and you'll get those brown spots or yellow spots. This, you spread some of this down, it kind of helps basically reopen up those roots. It promotes new root development, new growth, and that's gonna, in turn, just push new growth to the lawn in that kind of bad spot.
Yeah, it's not a fertilizer, so it feeds your soil. It's not something that's your plants are going to necessarily take up. It just makes the roots wake up, go like, oh, there's something here, there's something living, I can go in it. Because I don't know if anyone's moved into a new development or they're in an older home, but all your good dirt was gone. It was wiped away. It was taken by the developers, and it's now off to the side of your hill. Okay, so now your dirt is starting with nothing, so it needs some help. And so this kind of does, it brings it back to life to bring back those worms, bring back those mycorrhizal colonies, and all of that. Yeah.
You can just use it. It's not for your.
You can anything.
Yes, yeah, this is a great product. Just about anything that grows, you can put this on and it's gonna be happier. So whether that's your lawn, you can put it on your trees, you can even do a little bit in potted plants if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
it doesn't burn, doesn't do
yes,
anything like that.
yeah,
Now's a great time because things are starting to wake up. I don't know if anyone has new buds starting right now, but things are going to wake up early. We'll probably get a freeze later, but so do it now. Now's a great time to get it down because they're waking up, they're taking nutrients, they're starting to move in their homes. And then I might do it again in the fall. Just as they're
Mhm.
going dormant, they can take that back up or move their things and then kind of go to sleep kind of thing. Ooh, I don't think it is. I don't know. That's a good. Do you
Yeah,
know?
to my knowledge, so he asked if this lowers the pH. To my knowledge, this doesn't necessarily have any effect on pH, but we'll get into that in just a sec. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes.
He's all excited about it. He
So-
knows a lot about it.
So,
All
and
right.
with that, I think we might as well just segue into pH because it's pertinent for
It is.
kind of the rest of what we'll be talking about today.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to high school chemistry class or middle school, whatever, pH is the soil acidity. Prescott has very, very alkaline soil, very alkaline water. Plants, for the most part, prefer to be a little bit more on the acidic side on that pH scale. So because we're such an alkaline area, there's a couple different things we can do to help rectify, to help bring down that real high alkalinity level, make it a little bit more acidic to where these plants tend to be happier in the ground. So
What do you want?
let's see. Oh, sorry, that's not what I was thinking. Oh, okay. So as far as pH, yeah, if you're just looking at dirt, you aren't going to be able to tell what the pH is or what's actually going on in the soil. So we sell these soil test kits. We also have a soil testing service. If you're curious, you can just bring in a little Ziploc bag of soil, whether it's from your raised beds or you're going to put a new tree in and you want to see what the soil's like before you just throw a plant into it. So we have these kits. They test for 4 things. First one being pH, so you can see exactly how alkaline or acidic your soil is, and that'll kind of tell you what to do or where to go from there. The other things that this tells you is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. That's also known as NPK. N being nitrogen, P being phosphorus, and K, for whatever reason, that's potash. So
Potassium. Perfect. I think it's yeah. We just register as potash, but it's probably potassium.
yes. So for that NPK, a lot of times you'll see, like on our fertilizers, and this will hold true with pretty much any fertilizer you're going to buy, whether it's our stuff or Miracle-Gro or whatever else. They always have pretty much 3 numbers. That corresponds with the NPK. So this here, we formulated it specifically for our area here in Prescott. We found it's really the best stuff for fertilizing your plants, whether it's evergreens. It's an all-purpose fertilizer, so you can use it on lawns, trees, shrubs, anything in between. You can put this on your 100-foot tall ponderosa in the backyard. Indoor, I don't really recommend it because it is kind of smelly.
Yeah. Just
Which
a little bit.
it's great for the outdoor plants. They love that, but I wouldn't really want to be smelling this inside my house.
We have a different product. We have a house.
Yes, yeah, we do have a pretty good range of specific houseplant fertilizers.
And this one, it's all natural. So it does have that bone meal and stuff, so it can't be organic because it's got that mineral. It is all natural. Keep it away. Your dogs are going to love it. So if you spread it out evenly and water it in, you're going to be fine. They're not going to go for it. But don't throw it in clumps out in the yard, and make sure you package it away. Dogs have an amazing way of getting to it. So just put it on a shelf for something else. But it's organic and safe that way. 7.4 is really low numbers, so if you follow directions, you're not going to burn with it and stuff. You'd have to try really hard to burn with it. Whereas your 10-10-10s, things you can get from the other stores, first of all, they're synthetics, so they're just synthetics. They're made to be that way. They're high numbers, so you can easily burn with them. So you just gotta be careful. And then the ones that are liquid, you have to be really smart about where you're doing that liquid, because if you're near well water or anything like that, it is going to get into your well water because we just water so much. When the monsoons come, if we ever get them, they can be, troublesome. So just watch where you're doing that stuff if you do the liquid route. So that's why we created this for the area, made it for our soil. We know what our soil does. And that's why we did this product.
Yep. So yeah, another good note about this and soil acidity is because we formulated it for the area, there's a little bit extra in here. It's designed to help put that soil alkalinity, it's designed to lower that right back to where most plants are pretty happy. There's a handful of plants that do prefer kind of more acidic soil than even just what this per se does. For example, blueberries. Blueberries really like to have that kind of heavier acidic soil. Another good example is this pink Mediterranean heath. We just got these in yesterday or 2 days ago.
Mhm.
These guys do actually prefer a little bit more acidic soil. You can read it right on the tag.
I didn't
So,
know that.
yeah, I
Good.
was checking that out yesterday. So for the plants that do, oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, so this is 744.
7%.
Correct. Yes. So, and that's going to be 7% of the nitrogen. It tells you all right here. It's kind of fun to look at. Once you know how to read it, it makes it pretty easy to kind of see what the fertilizer is going to be doing in your yard or on your plants. So, and a little easy kind of way that I use to remember what exactly these do. It kind of generalizes, but for the most part, up, down, all around. So the first number, yes,
makes it
yeah,
nice.
it makes it easy. It's simple to kind of remember and check out. So that first number, that's going to focus on chlorophyll, the green part of the plant. That's what really helps push the growth. The down, that second number, that's going to promote root development.
Mhm.
And then the all around, that's just the food. That's what gets the plant going.
Yeah, makes you happy.
Yes. So, and these soil test kits are terrific if you're new to the area or you have a couple different areas in your yard that you're contemplating planting or you want to put some stuff in. These are great just to kind of take some of that guesswork out. You'll know what's going on in the soil before you just put a plant in the ground.
Yeah, I can tell you around here we're mostly 7, sometimes 8, depending where you're at. You'll never usually get to the prime. I know they think the prime for when you look at online is like 6.5 or 6.3. You'll never usually get that here, but the lower you can get it, the better. You can keep track of that. But just because of our water and our soil mix and our water, you have to water so much, you're not usually going to get it low. But you just want to help get it to where it's low as you can get it. So don't be discouraged if you're like, I can't get it there. You're doing fine.
If you're using just potting soil, like in an elevated garden
Mhm.
or pots or whatever, and you throw some of that in, the only thing that's coming in that's high is the water.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably wouldn't need it as much, right?
The water. This.
Yeah.
So I'll just repeat the question. So he asked,
Yeah.
he does potting soil and he does this in a raised bed. You probably wouldn't need to use this as much because our water creates that high number, right? Did I get that? Okay. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. So the water that you're adding in is alkaline, and that's still gonna kind of mess with the plants a little bit. It will bring that pH level up. The higher you are on that scale, the more alkaline. The lower you are, the more acidic. And as Kenzie was saying, for the most part here, we're about a 7 to an 8. Plants tend to prefer a little bit more towards a 6, that neutral, more acidic number. So even just using a little bit of this will still help because over time, just watering, even if you are in regular potting soil, watering will kind of start to affect that.
This is necessary at least 2 times a year. I mean, technically, yeah, you guys are on it. So
Yes.
usually use this 4 times a year. I'll get to your question just a sec, and then you. Sorry. Let me before I forget this. So 4 times a year, usually we say, New Year's if you didn't hit it, Easter, 4th of July, and Halloween. Most important feedings, you're gonna do anything. You're like, I'm not doing that. It's too much work. Fall and your spring. So before they go to sleep, before they wake up, those are your most important times to get that down if you're gonna do anything. Okay, you need to do it here. You can't just choose not to use any fertilizer because your things will be alive, but they won't look great. You'll know a lot of people, when you start using this or anything, just things look better. They have more color. They get bigger. They just fill out. It looks nicer, even on your natives and stuff. So just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm. So,
What's the difference in the pH between city water and rainwater from rain?
so that's a.
He probably knows this.
Yeah, actually, we'll see. She asked what the pH differences between what you find in the city water versus what comes down from the sky, your rainwater, your snow melt, precipitation? That is a great question that I do not know the full answer to.
But I don't know.
but,
It's probably better for rainwater.
Yes.
Rainwater
yeah.
is probably better. It's always greater, you know, and it also kind of almost distills itself because it's sitting out there. So, but yeah, way to test us today, you
Yeah.
guys. Fabulous. All right, Mike, you had a question. Yeah. Not for outside. So we have moisture meters. Great for indoors because it tells you if you're overwatering or not. If you're like me, where it's like it's a hobby, I kill all my indoor plants. So moisture meters indoors help me. I don't really look at the pH on them because pH changes so much on the inside. But outside, when you use moisture meters outside, they're not as accurate. They're not as helpful because, you know, especially right now with the freezing, your plants may show wet, but it's actually just cold. Or it just sits there and doesn't tell you accurately what it's doing just with the weather. So anything else to add to that? Well,
No, I
okay, cool.
think that covers it.
Yeah.
Address a little how right now we use receptacle
Yeah.
on our trees in the yard.
Yes.
You do that, you do water it in, you just spray by hand.
So nice thing about it, it's a slow release granular product. So it's all pelletized. Easiest way to put it out, to spread it down, is all you have to do with this is just spread it around the top of the soil. This is for plants that are already in the ground, or plants that have been in the ground for 5 years or 10 years, or that spruce tree in your backyard that you haven't done anything with in a decade. This is all purpose. You can do this on just about anything, or actually pretty much anything.
Everything.
Yeah,
Anything and
everything.
Except for house spray.
So the directions, it's pretty simple to use. It kind of tells you exactly how to use it based on what you're going to be fertilizing. So like roses, shrubs, evergreens, shrubs, stuff like these guys. You want to do 1 cup per 3 feet of height. For trees, you do 2 cups per inch of trunk diameter. So if you have a tree that's, say like this, this fruit tree right over here, say that's about 2-inch diameter, you would do 2 cups per inch of trunk diameter. So just 4 cups of that fertilizer, spread it around at the bottom of the soil. And as you water, as we get precipitation, it'll go down and saturate into the soil, get down to those roots.
So you don't have to water it immediately. You just get it on.
Correct. Yeah. You can, if you know it's going to start raining, or if you look at the forecast and there's snow tomorrow, it's a great time to go ahead and put some out. If you do have animals, I recommend watering it in, say dogs or something that might go after it, because it is kind of smelly stuff and a lot of critters are attracted to it. I do recommend watering it in then, just so your critters aren't getting into it.
Yep, you can hand spread it or do a spreader depending on what you're doing. I'm a lazy gardener, so I just chuck things down. I don't always measure, but I make sure I don't go over, you know, so that's just
Yes.
me. You want to mention this one really quick? Oh, go ahead.
No, because it is slow release granular, it'll just saturate down. It takes about 3 months for it to fully break down. So that's why we recommend applying it 4 times a year, because by the time it's broken down, that's usually a great time to go ahead and put some more on, just kind of help create a good environment for the roots, for the plant in general.
It goes through weed barriers. If you have your plants and your weed barrier comes up to it, goes through that too, as long as it's a fabric one and not that plastic. It'll break down through that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to do this one really quick just to
Yes.
show the difference?
Yeah. So you see 2 different big white bags of fertilizer. We already went over the all-purpose 744. Like we said, that'll cover anything and everything in your yard. We also have fruit and veggie specific fertilizer. This is pretty similar to the other stuff, same application process, same rates, slow release granular. So all you have to do is just water it in. But the nice thing about this is that it's a 6447. So a little bit different numbers, and that last number is actually added calcium. So calcium is great for fruit trees. It's great for just about anything that you're going to be consuming. So like tomatoes during the, I'd say July, August, we always have folks coming in with end rot on the tomatoes. That's where you start to see around the stem, it'll kind of, the fruit itself will actually start to rot. That's a lack of calcium. We'll see that with fruit trees as well. So putting some of this on just helps combat that. Promotes healthier fruit.
Yeah, your fruit trees, the cracks on the fruit and stuff and all that, that's the calcium deficiency. They're not quite as big. You want them bigger. That's also calcium. We just don't have any in our soil. This is a little bit. We also have calcium nitrate, which is just straight calcium. But if you start using this regularly, you won't have to add the additive, and this will just help everything that's edible around here.
You do that 4 times a year too?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this one is organic, so it doesn't have those bone meal or stuff. So this is organic, by the way. But again, still dogs, things, keep it away.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
Awesome.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Next. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you wouldn't want to go out and just dump a bag willy-nilly or something, but just take a look at the instructions.
Mostly it's in pots. If people are using some of it in pots, I've had one person, they kept adding more and they burned their blueberries. You just don't, for pots, don't just keep adding, just let it break down quite a ways.
So
outside, you really can't.
yeah.
Biggest thing with tomatoes in rock.
Yeah, just really follow the directions on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like last year, you couldn't put enough down to really help things. The heat just delayed everything or just made everything super small. But they popped in the fall. They did great in the fall, tomatoes. But yeah, last year was a hard year. Don't just keep adding stuff. Good.
So
All right.
okay.
Next.
Awesome. So I think now we'll go into a little bit of potted plants, or briefly talk about the potting soil. So this stuff, we formulated it specifically for Prescott. It's designed to retain that moisture during the heat of the summer when, like I said, that pot's going to be 120 degrees on a 90-degree day just because it sits in the sun and it really really heats up and kind of cooks that soil. So good potting soil is one of the best things you can do to have healthy potted plants during the summer, even during the winter, year round. This is designed to drain specifically for Prescott, for our area. It's got peat moss, it's got perlite. Both of those help with the drainage, soil aeration.
It's got a low grade fertilizer. It's like a 5,
Yes.
5, but it goes away pretty fast. So it may be 5, but it only sticks around for like a month. And then your plants have used it. So don't be worried about that as like, that's too much. I already did it. They're not going to compete with other fertilizers you've done. It just really helps your plant give them a boost from that transplant shock of planting things in it. So, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Perfect. So, and where to use the potting soil? As the name implies, you put it in pots. You can do raised bed containers.
Yep.
Really anything that's going to be in a container, that's a job for the potting soil. So.
Yep.
Okay.
You want to mention this?
Oh, yes.
This is great.
Yeah. While we're on the subject, going over pots or container gardening, cover AquaBoost crystals. This is something that the owners, Ken and Lisa, came up with. It works wonders to help retain that moisture during the summer. What it is, it's a polymer. It's got some mycorrhizals in there too, which promotes soil health. Some kind of brings in worms, some of the critters that you want in the soil. And so the polymer, it's a crystal that can hold 200 times its weight in water once it's saturated. So this, all you have to do, like if you were to put this this new peach tree that we got in the other day, this is called a pixie peach. It's a dwarf variety of peach. These guys are awesome. But if I was going to pot it into here,
Johnny, camera.
Oh.
Online class, people move it.
So if I was going to put it into here, if you know that this is going to be out in the sun, it's going to be cooking, it'll be in a real hot area that is going to kind of take some of that saturation out of the soil, you can mix in some AquaBoost. It's a little bit, goes a long ways with this, but it just helps retain that moisture, helps keep your plants happier during the heat of the summer. Another really good use case for this is with tomatoes. Anyone who's grown a tomato here in Prescott, at one point or another, you've probably seen the tomato kind of start to crack. The fruit itself along that skin will develop cracks, and that's due to the fruit itself kind of swelling, expanding and contracting as you water and as the plant dries out. This helps create a more stable environment in the soil, which in turn really, really goes a long way to prevent that cracking on your fruit.
Yep. Saves you on water bill, by the way. Water's high, so it saves you on that. Now, if your hobby is watering, like mine is, just be careful with this because it will stay wet for a long time. And when you go water once a week, that's what you do on Sundays. It still might be wet. So just know who you are. Just know if you want to not want to touch your pot, or if you're like, I like doing it every Sunday. So just be careful of that, okay?
Is there
Yeah.
a shelf life on that product?
As long as this stays dry in this container, it's all good. You can, whether it's a month old or you pick it up today in the store, or you can put it in
Couple years old,
your
fine.
shed. Yeah, it'll be just fine. The only time that this will kind of start to degrade or break down is once it's actually in the soil, once it's going through that moisture cycle.
Then how often would you apply that?
So this, if you're planting, we recommend kind of mixing it down in with the soil as you're doing it. So it's,
Like once or twice a year, you do not need it a whole lot.
yes.
If you're using that and you're like just native stuff or your grass or anything, you can do it more often. But in pots, just be very limited on how often you do it. Once or twice.
What are the proportions?
So she asked what the proportions or the ratio is. As I said earlier, a little bit goes a long ways. So this, on the application rate, it tells you the gallon size. So if I was to do a 1 gallon pot, say like this guy, this is a 1 gallon for reference. All you would mix in is 1 tablespoon. If you're doing a 15-gallon pot, 15 tablespoons. And you kind of mix that in with the potting soil as you're going to plant. Lawns, you can use it for that. Veggies, those have a little bit different rate. So like vegetable and flower gardens, 3 cups per 200 square feet. So a little bit does go a long ways. Really, really good stuff to kind of help save your plants, save some water during the heat of the summer.
I always think of them as Orbeez. I always am amazed when Orbeez get to size, and you're like, that filled a bathtub, and it was like barely there. That's how those work. They get huge, so they hold for a long time.
On the pellets, is that better off with pots versus like outside in the clay soil?
The Aqua Boost. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. It's best for pots, but it can kind of go on anything you're struggling keeping water on. But it's better for pots just because it sits there and it just maintains it a little easier. You can use it on anything you want.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Good on
Awesome.
this.
So yeah, went over the potting soil.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
It's your
you're
class.
good. So
You
we'll,
should do
okay,
manure and mulch
perfect.
mix
Yeah.
if it's springtime.
So,
Getting your beds ready.
so manure, right in the spot.
Okay.
So
We got this.
the barnyard manure, this is really good stuff. And anyone who lives out Williamson Valley, you've probably got a neighbor with horses, and they're asking, hey, do you want some manure for your garden beds? You got to be kind of careful if you're just grabbing horse manure, chicken scat, anything like that, because you can risk burning, especially like chicken. You don't want to just put that directly into your beds. So our barnyard manure, it's already been cooked through.
For a long time.
Yes, for a long time.
That's why it doesn't smell as bad as you would get from somewhere else. Okay.
Yes.
We try and deodorize it for you because we don't want to put this into a Porsche or a Corvette or a BMW. We want it to be nice as you can with dirt.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been cooked for a while.
So, and this is great stuff to use for veggie gardens, flower beds, anything like that. You can use it to kind of help amend and do some top dressing with. So now is a great time of year to put this down. If you've got a flower bed or you're going to do some veggies in your backyard in a few months, go ahead and mix some of this in with the soil now. It'll give it some time to kind of break down, mix up, and then you have perfect soil in a month or two when you're ready to start planting in it.
Yeah, it brings nitrogen kind of back into the soil. But because it's so hot, you do have to let it sit. So you want to do things like February, March to get ready for your summer veggies or things like that. If you're planting in your veggie gardens now or you're doing stuff now, do not do this. You just do your potting soil. You want to do this as a prepare amendment for future down the road. Okay, it has to sit for we usually say 4 to 6 weeks if you can. 6 is always better, but 4 is minimum. So you don't just plant straight in this; you will burn everything. Okay, and then Are you doing mixed? Or?
So yes, you can also mix the two of these when you go to plant new stuff, whether it's
Usually you do 50-50 mix in this to get ready for your beds, because this is so hot, and then the mulch just helps bring in some air and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you just say mix it, but you decide what you want to do. Just want to throw that out there.
yes.
For raised beds too?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can potting soil, mulch, whatever you prefer. Yeah, and the polymers. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Aqua Boost.
Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
just really, this is most important to mix with whatever, but this is the most important thing to get ready because that nitrogen boost and stuff, it brings your soil back to life a little bit after the winter, things like that.
Okay. Perfect.
Just go back down.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So
It just depends. Oh,
yes,
yes.
exactly. Yes.
I mean, like, if you're watering every other day, you're like on that south side or that west side that gets really hot. My guess is you could bring your watering down to almost once a week, maybe twice, depending on the heat. If you're watering like every other day, kind of breaks that down for you.
Mhm. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So we
Topsoil,
went
might
over
as well.
these. Now we'll move into topsoil. So now this is the heaviest of all the bag goods that we sell. And when I first started working here, I was the kid loading most of these into the back of your vehicles. So topsoil, this stuff, it's a very heavy, kind of sandier mix of soil. This is good. It's great for filling in a hole, or if you have low spots in your yard or in your lawn specifically, you can put some of this on top of that lawn. You water it in, and it'll kind of help to raise that soil level back up, just to keep your whole lawn nice and level. Um, so
If you like were digging out, getting your hole ready, and you found a bunch of like rocks or big giant clay clumps, and that's most of your dirt, and you're like, I have no native soil to add back in, you can do a topsoil mix with your mulch, and that would help fill that back in. So it's just a filler dirt, really weighted down. It's not going to go anywhere, and it's used to mix with other things or just top fill, things like that. So, yeah,
awesome.
easy.
So now I want to talk about cedar bark. So this is the last of the big bag products that we will be talking about today. Cedar bark, this stuff is, first of all, it smells fantastic. It's really, really good for top dressing. This time of year, or say in the fall, we always have folks asking, do I need to do anything over top of the soil for my trees, keep them from freezing or keep them a little bit more protected throughout the winter? Cedar bark is terrific to use for that. One of the nice things about cedar specifically is it has natural oils in it, which help act as insect repellents. So it'll keep some of the critters that you don't want around your plants. It'll help keep those at bay. And it can look real nice to spread in between rocks or just kind of throughout your yard.
Freshen up your yard. It's natural. It's not dyed or anything. It's not like we're not on the Midwest. We're not Minnesota. You're not going to freeze where you need to mulch everything. I get it already. You just a light layer here just helps keep things insulated. You don't need to go right up to your rose bushes or anything. This just helps keep that moisture down. I would not suggest, a lot of people try and use needles, like those pine needles and stuff. I would not use those. They do not break down fast enough. They will just sit there. I have a tree, it's got like a foot of pine needles, but I'm not using compost, just sat there, but they've never broken down. They just top layer. Okay, so you don't want to use that. You can use leaves, things like that, the maples, things that drop, you can use those. Do not use the pine needles. This is better.
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. So that's all of the big bags of soils and garden stuff that we sell.
Tired of lifting heavy things. We're done.
Yeah, all the heavy stuff. So I think, oh yes. So now as far as kind of going back to the soil test, if you go through, you do your soil test and you realize that, oh, I need some more phosphorus. I'm completely depleted. There's a couple different things you can do to kind of spot treat for specific stuff. The fertilizer is great if you just want to kind of refresh, add some new stuff in. But say, for example, phosphorus. And that's that middle number in that NPK formula. So you could go with bone meal. You see that middle number? This is a 0, 10, 0. So this bone meal works great to just, you spread it in, it'll help add that nutrients back, that the good phosphorus that you want.
Yep. Do not use any of this stuff that are single numbers, like the middles or thing, in pots. It's so easy to burn with them. You'll overdo it. This is made mostly for beds or outdoors and stuff. Just stay with your pots with what he's talking about next and stuff.
Yes. So bone meal, phosphorus, essentially. The blood meal, this is basically going to be nitrogen. You can see it's got that 1200. Same thing as Kenzie was saying, you wouldn't want to use it with pots, but this will really help pull something up. If you do your soil test and you realize that your nitrogen is completely depleted, you can mix a little bit of this in, and it'll help even those numbers out for you, which in turn just you have better plants, healthier plants, and better root systems with those. So now aluminum sulfate. Most folks, if you've got blue spruce or the Colorado blue spruce, anything like that with the blue color, that blue comes from aluminum. It's actually kind of a coating on the needles. If you were to go out to any of the blue spruces around here, take your fingernail, kind of scrape that needle, you'll actually get a little bit of that kind of blue silver off on your fingernail. That's an aluminum coating that the plant puts on itself. So if you're having a blue spruce and you notice it's kind of turning green, or it doesn't look so blue anymore, aluminum sulfate will help bring that back. This is also hydrangeas, the beautiful flowers. They are extremely kind of sensitive to the color of the flower. This will help
make it blue again.
Yes.
Pink to blue. So a lot of hydrangeas here, if you start with blue, always kind of reverts back to the pink. That just keeps it blue. So blue, blue, blue kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
You can put both for all the purpose fertilizer in this. You can always add this stuff together. Because it's such low numbers, you can mix it with any of this and it will be fine. Yeah.
When you see like the blue spruce start to get purple, which way is it going?
So that's usually too much water. So usually it's staying to, a lot of them are doing that this year. Because of that heat, most people overwatered then and then in the winter. So that's mostly, it's getting a fungal, it's just staying too wet when you see a purple color. So anything other than like blue, green, if it's yellow, if it's brown, or if it's purple, we have some other issues going on. We should probably look at that. Okay.
Okay.
I can show you treatment later. So if your things are going purple, your evergreens, it's that damage probably already occurred a couple months ago and it's now showing up. So you want to treat it pretty fast because otherwise it'll just continue to go downhill because the roots are staying too wet. So you need like a fungal treatment kind of thing. So, yeah.
All right. So now we'll get into iron. And as we were talking about earlier too, our soil is very alkaline. This product specifically, it's iron plus soil acidifier. So this stuff works great to help kind of even out those pH levels for you. And the iron, that's all plants need it. All humans need some iron. So this, we'll get maple trees specifically. We always, towards the end of summer, we'll see maple trees come in that you can kind of see the vein on the leaf. It'll look green along the sort of the vein, but then in between, it's turning yellow, and it looks kind of funky. That's due to an iron deficiency. That's just one example, but we do see it very commonly here. It's kind of something that we find adding a little bit extra in really goes a long way to give you a healthier plant in general. So this stuff, it's a granular. You can just spread a little bit around. Now is a terrific time of year to put this down, kind of preparing your plants for when they start rooting out, when they start leafing out, coming out of their dormant phase.
Yeah, you'll notice a lot of your things, maybe not necessarily this year, but in the past, they're going to kind of get that winter chlorosis. They kind of look an off color, maybe a little light compared to that dark green. You can always just add some of that down. It will make it green again. It's just we haven't had the sunlight to get it to where it needs to be, or we've watered, and that iron will just help it go back to that vibrant green that you want to see. So that's why now is a great time to also do it on your evergreens or things that are looking a little off. Okay. Cool. We also have a liquid form. So this takes a little bit to break down. Okay, so you because it's granular, it takes a little bit. If you're like tree, your maple's like instantly like, I don't want to look at that all summer and wait for it. The liquid form works faster, obviously, because things can pick it up. They don't have to break down. So we do have both options depending on how fast you need things to be green.
So,
Cool.
awesome. So that's that. And while we're here, I also wanted to talk about the turf and ornamental weed stopper. This stuff, we also call it pre-emergent. You've probably, if you've listened to any of the radio shows or the podcasts we put out, you've probably heard of pre-emergent. This, what it basically does, it's a weed control. It won't stop, or it won't kill anything that's already come up, but it will prevent new seeds from germinating. So this is great for, say, lawns. If you notice you start having some dandelions coming up through your lawn, you can spread some of this out before they start coming up. It will prevent those from coming up, but your lawn, it won't harm at all. I have a gravel driveway. I know during monsoon season, I'll start getting weeds coming up left and right through there, or even in another month or two, as we start warming up with the spring, I'll start getting some weeds coming up. So this is a great product. You can put it down twice a year if you want to be fully covered. Now is a great time of year to put it down. And then we recommend doing it another time, kind of right before monsoon season, just to keep those extra weeds at bay.
Yeah, usually the J months, so January and July, those are your 2 months that you usually throw this down and get it going. Okay, I have to do it now too. I get tons of weeds in my rocks, and I'm not a weeder. I don't like going out there and doing it, but I'm not going to pay someone to do it for me. So I need to do this now so I can limit that. If you're starting on, if you've never used this before in your area and it was all weeds, it needs some time over like a year or so to start lessening those weeds. It's not going to just instantly get rid of them. That's not how that works. That would be magical. But so it will lessen it over time if you're consistent, and then eventually you won't be fighting them. But don't expect it to work that this year. It will just lessen it as it goes. Okay, so it will help. Just give it time. Okay. Expectations. Okay. Any questions on this? Anything?
So yes, in fact, on the back of the bag, it tells you exactly what setting to set. I believe it covers 3 different spreaders, exactly what setting to set it at for spreading it. I'll be honest, when I put this out last summer over my gravel driveway, I didn't have a spreader on hand. I didn't want to go out and buy one real quick just for that. I got a dustpan, put it on, and I just made sure to go over. I walked my entire driveway just shaking it out. And to be honest, it worked perfect. I did that right before monsoon season, and it kept all the weeds out of the driveway. It goes a long ways just to help you out. You won't have to be out there pulling weeds or weed eating. It's
too hard
just
on
a
the
good
knees.
preventative.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
What time?
We're just about right
Dang,
on.
we're talking a lot here. I love it.
So,
We can pull a can and keep going for like 2 hours. It's fine.
so.
Anyway, anything else you want to?
So, well, I think that's pretty much all the soil products, everything I wanted to cover as far as that goes. If anyone has more questions, now's a great time to ask that.
Anyway, if we want to go over these plants, we can. Otherwise, I can talk about it afterwards. But
Selling this stuff in bulk?
The
this is as bulky as it gets.
yes. So we do, however, there are price breaks if you need a large quantity. We have a price break at 3 bags and a price break at 6 bags. So if you buy 6 bags or more of this, you'll save a couple bucks on each bag that you buy.
All right. Anything else? Otherwise, I think we'll end it, you guys. Okay? All right, we can keep going forever, but thank you guys. Eric, you did great. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right. Thank you.
You did good.